Resident doctors threaten nationwide strike if government fails to meet their demands as they give Tinubu presidency an ultimatum. In more controversies, trailed a leaked memo suggesting plans for a mass burial of about 103 bodies in Lagos following escalation of NSAS protests in the city in 2020. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. We're bringing to you some of your top stories that we're following for you right here on Channels Television, and some of those who are stories are making the round and getting us talking. We'll first start with telling you about the Inter-Party Advisory Council press conference. That body has again faulted the report of the European Union Election Observation Mission report on the 2023 general elections, as the council insists that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, performed well within the limits of its human resource and infrastructure constraints by introducing technology in its operations. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the national chairman of the council, Mr. Yabagisani, says, after a careful study of the report, some of the outcomes in the election attest to the benefits of increased usage and efficient deployment of technology in the conduct of the elections, which produced the most diverse legislature since 1999, with 9 of the 18 political parties winning legislative seats and 7 in the Senate, 8 in the House of Representatives, and 9 in the State Houses of Assembly. We'll be bringing you the soundbite from the IPAC chairman at some point on the program. But tonight, our attention is on 2 major issues. There is a possibility of doctors, resident doctors, going on strike. They gave an ultimatum on the 5th of July, which by today, or thereabout this week, resident doctors all over the country would have gone on strike. That will have added to some of the issues in the country and the state of the nation. Since the Tinubu presidency came into force, there's been so many issues on the ground which the government is battling to resolve. But this will have added to it. Tonight, we'll be hearing the ultimatum that the resident doctors are giving to the federal government. Will they be able to meet those demands being made? Are we going to see the hospitals again being shut down based on the government not being able to meet up with some of these demands? These are some of the issues we'll be looking at with the resident doctors tonight. And also, we deal with the mass burial plans by the Lagos government. A leaked memo has raised a lot of dust. We'll be discussing that matter too tonight on the program, but stay with me, everyone, because first and foremost, let's check out some of your political roundup stories, and we come and dig into some of these issues.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honourable Abbas Tajuddin, says the legislative agenda of the 10th House will champion the yearnings of Nigerians. The Speaker stated this in an address at a stakeholders meeting organised by the House Ad Hoc Committee on Legislative Agenda in Abuja. Stakeholders at the event charged the House to ensure that the legislative agenda is objectively executed.
Our desire is to have a legislative agenda that meets the yearning and aspirations of citizens, and with which they will use as a benchmark to evaluate and assess our performance after 4 years.
Members of civil society organizations and accredited domestic election observers in Nigeria are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to provide more detailed explanations on the Commission's inability to transmit election results real-time on the day of the presidential election. The group made this demand at a meeting to review the conduct of the 2023 general elections with the electoral body in Abuja. Meanwhile, the electoral body has listed factors that impacted negatively on the conduct of the elections, including the bad behavior of some of its staff, the deployment of political thugs by some politicians, and the technical glitches it experienced with the election results viewing portal. The Adamawa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has reserved a judgment on whether or not the suspended resident electoral commissioner, Mr. Hudu Yunusa Ari, can give evidence before the panel. Counsel to Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, Mr. Damian Dodo, had argued that Mr. Ari was sneaked into the courtroom to give evidence contrary to procedure. Counsel to INEC, Mr. Mohammed Garba, also objected to Mr. Ari giving oral evidence at the sitting on grounds that he was listed out of time. However, counsel to the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the state, Mr. Akin Olujimi, insists that his witness is entitled to testify before the tribunal. An arm of the obedience movement in Imo State, led by a social activist, Mr. Kennedy Iyere, has promised to mobilize for the second-term bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma in the November 11 governorship election. At a town hall meeting of the obedience movement with participants from the 27 local government areas of the state, Mr. Iyere said the meeting was summoned to encourage all members of the movement and citizens of the state to support the second-term bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma come November 2023.
Wherever we find someone who is credible and capable of driving leadership that can promise democratic dividends, we support.
A civil society group under the aegis of the Nigerian Citizens for Justice, Democracy and Development is asking the Inspector General of Police to investigate the alleged complicity of some officials of the West African Examination Council acting in an attempt to obstruct an investigation into the WAEC certificate presented by Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State. The group says it is of national interest that the issues of allegation of presentation of forged certificates by public office holders must not be taken with levity.
Call on the Inspector General of Police and other security agencies concerned to immediately carry out extensive investigation from top to bottom in WAEC office on the allegations, report and make a comprehensive finding in accordance with the court directive.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get right into it. Now, there would have been a shutdown or a great impact on the activities in Nigerian hospitals this week if the planned industrial action by the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, is not averted of care or care is not taken. If they had gone on the strike based on the threats that they have issued, it would have been that you go to some of the hospitals and you may not find the resident doctors attending to you. So the national leadership of the resident doctors in Abuja today and announced that they are setting up an ad hoc committee to meet with all the stakeholders and address the matter of their demands. They met with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, who is to meet with President Bola Tinubu in a move to avert the looming strike. Now, that meeting is not stopping the strike, but they are waiting for the outcome. The Speaker further appealed to the resident doctors to give the House leadership a 2-week period to find solutions to the issues raised. The meeting was held largely behind closed doors. Take a listen to what the Speaker said at that meeting.
I encourage you to take advantage of this meeting to bear your minds on the issues at stake and suggest realistic solutions to them. We must approach these issues with an open mind and guided by the fact that revenues available to the government may not fully meet our demands. Therefore, we must find a middle ground that satisfies everyone without prejudice to the 2023 Memorandum of Understanding. We particularly note that your demands include the payment of 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund, upward review of consolidated medical salary structure, CONMES, and salary arrears dating back to 2015. These issues and more can be resolved without embarking on an industrial action. In this regard, therefore, we urge you as leaders to appeal to your members to suspend any action while we interface with the executive arm of government. We equally seek your understanding on the fact that a new administration just came on board.
That is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. Let's get talking. We have the President of the Resident Doctors Association, Dr. Emeka Orji, who joins us virtually from Abuja. Thank you so much, Dr. Orji, for joining us. Let's get this straight. From the facts that are available, you went on a 5-day warning strike on the 17th of May 2023. After that strike, you and your colleague had given the federal government 2 weeks ultimatum, which is supposed to elapse on the 19th of July. Is that right? And if federal government does not meet your demand, we're going to begin an indefinite nationwide strike. That is your plan. And you had reeled out, brought forward the resolution of your association, which are the demands that you are putting forward to the federal government. But give us the outcome of today's meeting. Have you agreed to the 2 weeks that the House of Reps is asking you to meet with the president and come back to you? Have you agreed to stall for those 2 weeks?
Well, Michelle, thank you for having me. It's not in my position to agree or disagree to anything. All we can do is to transmit the appeal of the Honorable Speaker to our members. However, I must point out that what we are discussing, the issues at stake are very important and urgent, and some of them are already leading to death of our members and Nigerians at large. And we have been on this for so long. So we want to appeal that whatever is being done to avert this strike should be done within this week. Because from the pillars we have, our members may not continue to wait any longer, even as we appeal to them. Take, for instance, the issue of the 2023 medical regulatory training fund. There's no reason why that payment should have been made by now. The fund is accordingly appropriated in the 2023 budget. And so we have been on this matter for so long, trying to appeal to the government to release the funds for payment. And I can tell you that up to now it has not been released. For the one-for-one replacement, you will know that Nigerians who visit our hospitals will note that we do not have enough doctors and nurses there. And there was a policy that government intended to use to quickly replace doctors and nurses who have left the system. And unfortunately, we have been on this too since January this year. The circular have not come out. Not to talk of the other issues of the salary arrears, upward review of promise and all that. So we appreciate the speaker for calling us. And we are also appealing that within the week, we believe that there are a few of those issues that can be sorted out in a matter of a day or two. And so if they're able to sort those ones out, it will be easier for us to convince our members during our later in the week for them to continue to give that room for other issues to be sorted out. Thank you.
It seems to be a very noisy environment. It's making it very difficult to have this conversation. The environment where you are, I know you may not have powers over it because I understand that you have a flight out of Abuja and you're switching this time to speak to us, but it's really very difficult now. So we may not be able to have a long time to have this conversation. But Dr. Orji, if you can tell us tonight, since you don't have a response to the speaker, you have not made a position on based on what you have said, if I understand you correctly. So what is the way out now? What should we expect?
In that meeting with the speaker, we placed 2 demands on the table that we believe can be sorted out today, tomorrow. And he agreed that he will sort those ones out. If he's able to sort them out, then the other issues at stake, we can decide to give him the 2 weeks. We are national officers. It is very difficult for us to make any categorical statement in a meeting like that. However, knowing our members, knowing how they feel about this matter, we believe that the issue of 2023 medical related training fund and the issue of one-for-one replacement, if they are sorted out in a matter of a day or two, it will be easier to convince our members to give the 2 weeks that is being asked for the upward review of consolidated medical salary structure and the salary areas that we talked about to be addressed.
All right, but
But
doctor,
if those
sorry,
ones are
apologies
not,
if I may jump in, but this agreement that you have with the federal government, it was initially with the Buhari government, and it does look like the implementation did not happen. Is it possible, just for the sake of Nigerians who are supposed to benefit from the services of you and your colleagues within the association? For example, let me give you what the statistics tells us, doctor. A report says that between 2013 and 2021, Nigeria lost over 300 working days in the health sector to strikes. The report also says that your association accounted for 61% of the strikes, specifically responsible for 11 of the 19 industrial actions which took place, going on strike for 154 out of the 252 days of industrial action recorded by the government. Would it be fair for you to give this new government some window other than the 2 weeks that you gave them because they just assume in office, won't we imagine? Is that possible?
well, the statistics that you just read that is questionable, but in direct answer to your question, the issue has even become more urgent with the removal of fuel subsidy. You see, everybody is suffering, and especially our members. And I keep saying that the issues at stake, whether it's the previous government or this current one, can be resolved. Incidentally, in the memorandum of understanding we signed with government 2 months ago, all the people that signed, they are all permanent secretary. They are still in this government. You know, they have also been part of the several discussions we've been having with this current government. You know, so if you talk to them directly, they will tell you these things can be resolved. But we are actually at a loss why some of them have not been sorted out. You know, and I mentioned 2023 MRTF. I mentioned the circular on one-for-one replacement. Nobody has been able to convince us why those things cannot be sorted out in a day or two. All we've been having a series of meetings, you know, from Monday last week till this week, we've had up to 4 different meetings, and each one of them will promise us that, you know, give us a day or two, we are going to sort this out, you know, and we believe that they should do more because the people that we are representing, they are asking for tangible results from those meetings we've been having. And I fear that if the government side does not work hard to resolve the 2 issues that I told you about, which they can resolve as early as Wednesday this week, then it will be difficult for us to control our members. And like I said, these issues are germane, they are important, they are urgent, you know, and the government has the capacity to sort them out.
We understand that we have between 9 to 10,000 resident doctors in Nigeria. And give us an understanding, because a lot of people will wonder, okay, so if the resident doctors go on strike, so what then? What is the impact? Maybe the health sector can run without you and your association. How pivotal or important are the numbers of about 10,000, if I'm correct? You can give us the right number of the resident doctors we have in Nigeria and what their role is within the health sector in the country.
Well, we are the largest medical workforce, and each time we withdraw our services, the hospitals essentially shut down. And incidentally, it is because of this that we have been hesitating. Like I said, this issue started since January this year. We have issued ultimatum 3 times on these same issues, and they have still not been sorted out. But this time around, I don't know whether it will be able to still be at the level of ultimatum. I want to keep appealing that government should address these issues before the end of this week. Because in fact, even after that engagement with the speaker, a lot of our members started reaching out to us to know whether there are tangible results. And when they even read in the news the statement from the House of Rep, many of them were not really too happy because they felt that, okay, there will be specific timelines as to, in a matter of days, when these 2 issues I talked about will be resolved. Before we now start talking about the other major demands that we have, that we believe we can give that 2 weeks, you know. And we presented this to the House of Rep, and I think they understood us because the speaker also made a promise that we should give him today, tomorrow, to interface with the executive arm of government to address those two urgent demands. And we believe that he will be able to do that. If he does it, then it will be easier to convince our members to continue rendering services even from the end of this week. So it is just an appeal. We are all patriots, we are all citizens of this country, and no one wants Nigerians to suffer. But already they are suffering. They come to hospital, they don't see doctors. Do we continue to allow something like that to continue to happen? So everybody should walk around the clock to avert this imminent industrial action.
There are those who say that Nigeria needs about 40 to 50,000 medical doctors to be able to meet the United Nations quota or recommendations of doctor-to-patient ratio. And in the country that we have lost almost 3,000 medical doctors to the jackpot syndrome just in 2 years. And out of 24,000 registered doctors in Nigeria, about 10,000 of them are resident doctors. And now, these 10,000, your colleagues are threatening to go on strike, which means there is a threat on the health sector in Nigeria. On a final note, Dr. Orji, you are saying from tonight, anything can happen. You and your colleagues might go on a nationwide strike and may be indefinite. Is that a position?
Unfortunately so. But I want to repeat that this can be averted. Believe you me when I say this can be averted. Let government work around the clock to avert this. We don't want to go on this strike. And we have said this to every body that have met us on this same issue, both the executive and the legislative arm. We believe that they can resolve it. And indeed, they have not told us that they won't be able to resolve this in a day or two. And so we are holding them to their words that in a matter of today, tomorrow, let them resolve the urgent issues that we have, and then we can begin to discuss with them on the other issues that we believe can take up to 2 weeks. But 2023 MRTF, circular on one-for-one replacement, there's no reason why by tomorrow or less we shouldn't have those issues sorted out. And we believe they can do that. Whereas for the number of doctors we need, you know that the WHO doctor-to-patient ratio is 1 to 600. So if you do the math, you will realize that even the 50,000 you talked about will be grossly inadequate to take care of the health needs of this country. So we need much more than that. And again, you need to realize that most of these issues are the issues leading to brain drain, massive brain drain we are having in the health sector. And so it's an emergency. Can the government work with us to resolve these problems so that our doctors and nurses will continue to stay in this country to serve the citizens of this country without having to go out to other countries in search of greener pastures?
Dr. Emeka Ochie would have loved to have more conversation about this matter, but we do hope and plead with you and your colleagues that if it's possible for you to give some more time, because doctor strike will add to the injury that Nigerians are experiencing presently. There's hardship in the country, but I wish you and your colleagues the very best. Thank you so much, Dr. Emeka Ochie, President of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Thank you indeed. Let's switch gears now, everyone, and let's remind that based on the amendment to the 1999 Constitution, Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, it provides that the president and the state governors have 60 days to transmit their cabinet nominee list to the National Assembly or the State Assembly, as the case may be. It's 57 days in office of President Bola Tinubu, and the nation awaits its ministerial list. All right, then, let's jump on the issue. There's gotten a lot of people talking. Human rights community is agog about the matter. It went viral on social media. There was a reported mass burial plan by the Lagos state government, and that leaked memo has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking. It was a purported mass burial plan for casualties of the 2020 NSAS incident. Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Ogboye, in a statement, react that purported leaked memo has gotten the attention of the Lagos government and is being drawn to some social media publication about the mass burial plan for casualties of the 2020 NSAS incident. And according to the Lagos state government, they said the peddlers of the news are deliberately misinterpreting and sensationalizing a letter from the Lagos state government public procurement agency entitled Letter of No Objection, Mass Burial for the 103 the year 2020 NSAS victims, to misinform the public, steer public sentiment, and cause public disaffection against the Lagos state government. That was the purported leaked memo that surfaced online, which was scrolling on your screen. And the state government has since been reacting to these and said that those bodies, none of them were picked up from the Lekki toll gate. Let's get some reactions to these now, and let's dissect the issues that have come out of this. I'm being joined by one of the lawyers who represented some of the NSAS protesters, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Olumide Adeyinka Fushika. He joins us virtually live from Lagos. Thank you so much, Daniel Sik, for joining us tonight. Give us an understanding. You represented some of the NSAS protesters, but when you got that, when you saw the leaked memo, which surfaced online and became was a viral item on social media, how did that come to you? Mr. Fushika, it seems you have muted your device. Can you unmute, please?
Well, I was saying that there is really nothing disclosed in the memo that came out to us as strange or previously unknown. These were facts that were laid before the tribunal. And yeah, so there's nothing new in it. These bodies have been kept in the morgue since that time. And I think that the government is just trying to find a way to dispose of the bodies. So that's it.
Let me take the memo for the statement of the state government, one after the other. Let's dissect what the state government said. But just a moment, you said something that there's nothing new. But it might be new to a lot of Nigerians who think 103 bodies to be buried following that escalation. Isn't that mind-boggling?
Well, nothing surprises us again in Nigeria. We have, unfortunately, governments that don't think that they have responsibility to their citizens. They think that they are just there to, go about in convoys, enjoy their lives, and so on and so forth. It's surprising that, 103 you claim of your citizens, you want to go and give them a mass burial because you cannot trace them, you don't know who they are, you don't know, it's surprising. Well, I think that if you look at that statement again, the ones they were trying to explain, let me read out the last paragraph of it to you, the government reaction when people took them up, or when they thought that people were reacting. The last paragraph says, the government, therefore, appeals to social media rumor mongers to please allow the hapless families of the unclaimed loved ones a deserved closure. How can the families of the unclaimed loved ones have a deserved closure when they don't even know that, their loved ones are the ones being going to be given mass burial? If they have families and they know that these bodies are there, they will probably have gone to claim them, but they don't know. So how can then the government say that they want to do this so that the hapless families of the unclaimed loved ones, will have a deserved closure? There can't be closure when you have your, anyone missing from when any member of the family is missing, the family can't have closure, until you see. I think the government is much more interested. They are much concerned about proving that these people were not killed at Lekki toll gate. They were killed elsewhere, Okwaba, some other places. The important thing is that they were killed. And in other countries, if you value the lives of your citizens, you go all out to see to it that they are identified. What is the police doing about it? We have all manners of security agencies, police especially. When you discover, you remember there was a time, even it wasn't a complete body in the US and the UK. The body was discovered in, River Thames, and the effort that the, Metropolitan Police put into discovering, tracing, the body back to Nigeria to say, oh, this body, and they were able to confirm eventually the identity of the person. But here in Nigeria, we even see corpses on the road and people move by, they are not bothered. Because the government itself doesn't bother. It's not, they really don't care about as long as you pay if they want taxes from you, you pay, and you don't disturb them when they're enjoying their lives. You don't come and put them.
Mr. Fusika, yeah. Before we take a quick break, the government said that these bodies are the victims were not from the Lekki toll gate shooting. For someone who spoke and you were a lawyer for some of the NSAS protesters, how do you react to that?
Sorry, I didn't hear you there. I couldn't.
I said so someone like you, who you were a lawyer to some of the NSAS protesters, when the government said these 103 bodies, none of these bodies were picked up from the Lekki toll gate.
Sorry, I didn't.
All right, stay with me. We'll come back and allow you to answer that question because in anything that is criminal in nature, anything that is incriminating, or anything that bothers the mind, we must be able to avert our mind to the crime scene. How did this happen? Who is involved? How did the government relate to this? What is the role of the government? The security operatives, these bodies, who are they? Are they just bodies that fell from the skies or what? Even if they are picked from any part of the city, don't they have families? We'll be coming back to discuss more on this matter. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the matter. It's the planned mass burial in Lagos State linking to the casualties from the NSAS incident. Some of the reactions that the state government is giving on that leaked memo. Well, Mr. Olumide Fushika, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, one of the lawyers to the NSAS protesters, has been speaking with us. I don't know if you can hear me clearly now. The question I was asking is your reaction to the state government's response to say the bodies that are meant for burial, the 103, none of them are from the toll gate. And toll gate is perhaps supposed to be the crime scene or the scene of the incident.
If they say they are not from the toll gate, then the government should tell us where they are from. That time, the place where was widely reported that there was a killing was at Lekki toll gate. But although of course we must give it to the panel that sat specifically on Lekki toll gate, not that the terms of reference of the panel had to do with Lekki toll gate, not the other places allegedly where there could have been shooting and killings in Lagos. But there's a coroner's law in Lagos. When somebody dies and is said to be unnatural, it's not. There's supposed to be a coroner's inquest into the cause of death and all that. What's the purpose of that law if the government cannot utilize it to properly identify who these persons that were killed were, the circumstances in which they were killed, what caused their death, and possibly also trace their family members. That's what a responsible government does. But you can see here that what the job's done is they kept the bodies there since 2020. No efforts, no tangible efforts has been made by anyone to even identify these bodies. And you can see that like everything in Nigeria, about government and governance in Nigeria, all they do is award contracts, So this is another opportunity to award contracts and for some cronies to make some money. So they've awarded the contracts to Berry. They think that their responsibility to us is awarding contracts, award road contracts, award this contract, award all that contract. That's what they think the responsibility of government is. They do not realize that they have, duties to us as their citizens, other than just sitting down in government house and awarding contracts. They've awarded this one now for 660-something million. That's the average of 500,000 naira per corpse, And what is the person supposed to do? When they say mass burial is to dig up a big hole and throw the bodies there. That's what it means. So for this purpose, the person is taking, whoever they have awarded the contract to is taking 500,000 naira per corpse. So that's what generally they are interested in. That's governance for you in Nigeria. Other places, the government will want to know, will care. These are our citizens. Even if they didn't die at Lekki toll gate, you could see from the statement that they know that these persons came to violent deaths.
So Mr. Fushika,
as if they were just walking on the road.
Mr. Fushika, you do not believe the state government's explanation. Is that your position?
That I do not believe
Do you believe
the state government?
The explanation of the Lagos state government? Do you believe it?
They've not made any explanation. All you see, if you go back into the history of this thing, all they've done, throughout is they are intent on saying nobody died at Lekki toll gate. People could have died elsewhere, but they must prove that nobody died at Lekki toll gate, even though the governor at that time declared a period of mourning, even though he apologized, even though he acknowledged that people were shot, but his advisors then came back later to tell him that, maybe, your second term chances will be affected by if you continue to behave like a gentleman. You have to pretend as if nothing happened. And that has been the way he has been conducting himself since that time. You will think now that he has won a second term, and as a gentleman and as somebody with a make of humankind, as a human being too, that he would change tact and come out, to acknowledge what happened and do the right thing that a responsible government does. But since they've insisted or told a lie from the beginning that nobody died at Lekki toll gate, they must keep on saying so. But you can see that the souls are restless, and suddenly this has come up again, not through any lawyer, but by their own writing, awarding contracts. It's clearly, see, look at the letter, people died during the NSAS, It's clear on the letter. They know the truth. It's just that they don't want to acknowledge it. They must prove to the world that this comes from Lekki toll gate.
Give me a moment. Let me get another perspective. I'm being joined from our Lagos studio by yet another senior advocate of Nigeria, Barrister Wahab Shitu. Thank you so much, Mr. Shitu, for joining us tonight. Give us an understanding of what you make of the scenario playing out, the leaked memo, the information coming out, the 103 bodies meant for mass burial, and some of the reactions that have trailed it.
Thank you very much. In view of the several angles to this matter, my own approach will be to keep an open mind. I didn't appear before the NSAS panel. I wasn't one of the lawyers who appeared before the NSAS panel, even though as a Nigerian, I feel concerned that lives were lost. So my approach before coming to this panel is to look at the various angles, to look at the government angle, and also look at the angle of those who are against the government. From the clarifications I got from sources close to government, it will appear that certain explanations have been made in the public space. And I will expect that we should examine these explanations and probe them further. If we need to investigate these facts that have been put in the public space by the government, we should look at it, we should look at all the angles. For instance, government said, and because I saw clarifications, that before now, the counsel to the NSAS protesters issued a subpoena on the chief pathologist to list all the bodies that were found, that were deposited in the morgue. And the pathologist who was summoned, he came before the panel and made clarifications that nobody was found traceable to the electric toll gate protest. The question is, did that happen? Secondly, I also saw clarifications whether Section 15 of the Lagos State Coroner's System Law was complied with respect to making advertisements for relatives of these people to come forward and identify the bodies. The response I also got is that specifically on the 18th of November, a publication was made in the Punch, 18th of November. Also on the 19th of November, a publication was made by the chief coroner of Lagos State in this day newspaper, calling on all relatives who may have lost people, or whose relatives are missing, to come forward. When publications are made of that nature, it is a notice to the whole world. I've seen copies of the publications as made in the Punch and also made in This Day, which is a notice to the whole world for them to come forward. And the feedback the government also said is that nobody came forward.
Apologies if I may jump in on that note you made. Just a moment. Mr. Shitu, let me jump in quickly on that note you made. Based on the Coroner Inquest Law of Lagos State, if there is a circumstance leading to the death, a questionable death of a certain person in Lagos State, what are the procedures to put a closure to such a scenario?
First of all, by virtue of Section 15 of the Lagos State Coroner's System Law, advertisement is supposed to be made in a reputable newspaper, calling on relatives, relations of missing persons, or those connected, confirmed to have died, to come forward, and for purposes of identification of the deceased persons. The question we want to ask here is whether such publication was made in conformity with Section 15 of the Lagos State Coroner's System Law. The fact that I have is that indeed such publication was made by the Chief Coroner, Honorable Justice Dada, who is the Chief Coroner of Lagos State, caused that publication to be made on the 18th of November in the Punch newspaper, and on the 19th of November in This Day newspaper, which is a notice to the whole world to come forward. The question we need to then ask is that sequel to that publication, did people take advantage of that publication by coming forward? From the angle of the government, they said nobody came forward.
It's made, Mr. Shitu.
Yes.
What then happens? Is the Lagos government supposed to commit them to Mother Earth just like that without giving, finding out, maybe doing some examination on the cause of death or the circumstances leading to the death of such persons?
Because the coroner's law is so clear about steps that needed to be taken, and the angle of the Lagos State government, which I also got before coming to the program, is that these bodies were kept for almost 3 years now. to enable relations of the deceased to come forward. And they stated the particulars, I mean, what they needed to satisfy in order to be able to properly identify the deceased persons. This was done.
Asking Mr. Shitu that
yes.
if those publications are made,
yes.
does the law also state that there should be an examination or not on the said bodies? Aside, as part of the process, should there be any medical examination on the cause of death? Or they should just commit the body to Murder Earth?
Ought to be done. That ought to be done by law. But if you look at, because the controversy is now whether those deaths arose from Lekki Toll Gate. The narrative of the Lagos State government is that the Lagos State Emergency Health Unit pick up these bodies in several places in Lagos. And they mention specifically those places. Ketu, Fagba, Ogba, Ikorodu, and several parts of Lagos State where violence also erupted. They also alluded to the fact that there was outbreak in Ikoyi prisons, leading to several other deaths. Now, I think what we need to do is to investigate what the Lagos State government, the narrative the Lagos State government has put in the public space before jumping into conclusions. I think in the spirit of fair hearing, because a lot of, we must be careful, very, very careful, particularly in this area where we have a lot of muslinging in the public space, a lot of attempts by opposition elements to also take advantage of what is going on, particularly to supposedly blackmail the central government.
In that sense,
we need to look at all this
Mr. Shitu,
carefully.
Do you think that the Lagos State government has been transparent in the process of administering the information concerning these 103 bodies? Should there be some kind of publication to show how many bodies were picked up from Fagba, how many were picked up from Ketu, how many were picked up from Ikorodu, how many were related to the jailbreak? Is it possible that the government should come clean with the details? Is it possible?
I'm not in a position to speak for the government, but what I'm in a position
you as an independent person,
as an independent,
as a senior lawyer,
as an independent person, my perspective
should take that route.
Yes, my perspective changed as soon as I discovered there was a publication by the chief coroners of Lagos State in the Punch newspaper of 18th November 2020. We can independently verify this. And there was also a publication in this day newspaper of 19th November. We can also independently verify this, calling on all concerned persons to come forward and verify the identities of the bodies. The question we want to ask is whether these people took advantage of this publication. That publication, right. in my view, that publication, in my view,
to bring this conversation home. Just a moment, Mr. Shitu. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment, Mr. Shitu. Mr. Fushika, I'd like to get your closing remark and perhaps your response to what Mr. Shitu had said. Mr. Fushika, your closing remark on this matter, based on what we have on the ground, what Mr. Shitu has said, and your closing remark on the entire saga, where we need to head from here.
Well, a direct response to him is that I'm not an opposition figure, if that's what he meant. I'm not in APC or Labour or whatever. So if what he meant by opposition figures are going about, attacking Lagos State government, I didn't attack any Lagos State government. And the second point I want to make, he knows as a matter of fact that when you go to Nigerian prison, they have records of the people that are the inmates in the place. So if you are telling us some people died at Ikoyi prison and their identity, you can't, they are of unknown identity, then that says a lot about the country. If inmates were killed, you said there was an attempted jailbreak and some inmates were killed. How did the inmates get there? Didn't they have identity? Were they not identified before they were taken there? That now they are the corpses that the Lagos State government has in the morgue that nobody can identify. Please, when we are, discussing issues of public importance, we should always put ourselves in the position of the person that can no longer speak the dead.
Mr.
Let's not come on it and be taking this kind of.
Yes. Thank you so much. Let me get
statement that Ikoyi prison and all that. As a matter of fact, what's the circulation of the highest circulating newspaper in Nigeria today? What's the circulation? The people trekking from work to office looking for how many, even before now, how many of us can afford to buy newspaper on a daily basis? How many? That you say once it has been published in the newspaper and people don't come. A responsible government anywhere in the world, and I say that with all sense of responsibility, will not fold his hands and say, this I don't care attitude. The only time you care about your citizens is when you want to collect tax or when you want to vote, you know where they are. You are telling me that 103 of your citizens, even if they live in this Lagos, or they were walking on the road and they just collapsed and died, and you are not bothered about what is the responsibility of your police force? What do they do? That they cannot identify, who these persons are, the circumstances of their death. You say you have a coroner's law in Lagos, you cannot use that method to determine who they are, and you are coming on here to tell me that once they publish in the newspaper, as if that's once you publish.
Mr. Fisher, we need to wrap up now because of time.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Thank you so. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Let me allow Mr. Shitu's final thought. Mr. Shitu, let's wrap up now, just in about 40 seconds. Your response and your final submission.
Mr. Olumude Fusika, SAN, that I know, my reference to opposition figures is not a direct reference to him as a person. And I feel concerned the same way he feels about the loss of 103 persons. But my own position is that we should balance. We should not be unduly discriminatory in our approach to this matter. Government has pushed certain narratives to the public space about the steps it has taken to ensure that the owners of this missing person come forward. The question we should ask is, were these steps actually taken? If a publication is made in the Punch and is made in this day, and you say that does not enjoy wide coverage, the Punch is one of the widest circulating newspaper. And I'm aware that Mr. Olumide Fusika is a counsel to the Punch. So he knows that the wide coverage of the Punch. So I'm not attacking his person because I have a lot of respect for him. But what I'm saying is that we should approach.
We need to go now, Mr. Shito, because
we should approach this issue with an open mind and also investigate the narratives the Lagos State government has put in the public space before jumping into.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Leonard Sina, advocate of Nigeria, Olumide Fushika, and Mr. Wahab Shiru. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your intervention on this matter. That's how we draw the curtains on the program tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm sure Kimalo, I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. Bye-bye.